There's nothing different with them than anybody else, right? I don't know. Will the short-term win hurt Southwest in the long run? And I think only time's going to tell, right? Hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited about this episode because I'm going to be talking about Southwest Airlines. And dude, what's happening over at Southwest? Well, I want to talk about this. And I also want to talk about it not just from the eyes of a consumer, which I am because I'm a big fan of Southwest, but I also want to talk about this just through the eyes of like a business perspective. Okay. I want us, as we're talking through this on the podcast, or I guess it's just me talking on the podcast, you're going to be listening. I just have lots of big thoughts from the business perspective. Sorry if you're watching on YouTube. Yes, I am drinking out of my, I'm from Iowa, Starbucks cup. But sometimes I think we need to look at things through just the eyes of, being a normal person, a human, right? Other times I think we're called to look at things through spiritual eyes. Since I know that I'm called to the mountain of business, I always try to look at things through the eyes of a business person as well. Okay. So if you don't know, Southwest Airlines made a lot of big announcements recently in the last year, okay, and a huge one last week. And I just want to say up front that I'm a huge fan of Southwest Airlines. All right, I'm a preferred A-list member. I have been for years. Jason and I both are. That means we get like A1 through 15 boarding because they don't have first class like Delta, American, etc. We have both Jason and I have companion passes for our girls, for our daughters, which means that our girls both fly for free with us every time we fly. Um, you know, During COVID, when everything was a hot, stinking mess, and by the way, how triggering that that was like 5 years ago this week, I really fell in love with Southwest Airlines even more because I still had a lot of flying to do during that time. I had just launched my book, Fear is Not the Boss of You. We had a 12-city book tour, you know, around the United States that had to be canceled because my book came out in April and COVID hit in March. And so there was, for a while, nobody was flying. I'm sure you all recall that. But then when we kind of did go back to flying, I had several flights that were scheduled on other airlines, Delta. Sorry, did I just say Delta? But those flights were miserable. Can I just say that? And if you're listening and you're like, oh, I love Delta. Well, Delta has a lot of nice perks, but I think that for me personally, the few times I flew with other airlines that were not Southwest during the first year or two of COVID, their restrictions were way tighter than Southwest. Southwest was at least tried to make, flying more fun. They were way more lax, in my opinion, about their rules in terms of masking, etc. Okay, this was just firsthand experience. So I fell in love with Southwest even more during that time and was threatened to be kicked off of Delta forever. So, if you're watching me right now on YouTube, you're seeing what I'm doing. I really doubled down on my love for Southwest Airlines during that time. Okay. And if you want to know more, by the way, about companion passes and things, I actually did a podcast on that. And it's not talking really about Southwest, but just flying in general, but how we got our, companion passes for our daughters to fly free. But if you just Google Jennifer Allwood podcast, episode 498, on episode 498, I interviewed Megan Lanford, who's like a professional traveler, and she travels for free all the time. She gives lots of tips about, you know, how to make reservations, what day of the week to make them on so that it's cheaper, et cetera. So just go listen to that when we're done. Okay. But here's what you need to know. Basically, Southwest has gotten known for the fact that they always let people fly with two bags for free versus other airlines who did not do that. Okay. Now, it announced last week that it's going to start charging fees for its checked luggage. I believe, don't quote me, that it's $35, but we'll talk about that a little bit lower down. Okay. They've also announced already in the last 6 months or a year that they're not going to have open seating any longer, which is the second major thing that sets Southwest Airlines apart from everybody else. There are no assigned seats. They do not have a first class. They have open seating. You pick your seat. There are, some seats that have way more leg room, which is like, in the exit row, which Jason and I always sit in. But those are the two things that made Southwest Airlines different. Okay. The fact that A, you got two bags that flew for free, regardless of what price of a ticket you bought. And B, it was open seating. Okay. So they have made a lot of changes. And I want to talk about what this means for Southwest and also what it means, for us as flyers. Okay. So from a business perspective, here's what it means for Southwest. Okay. Because my team was doing some research for me, so that I could give you some numbers. So basically, Southwest Airlines, by shifting to that baggage, they're charging for bags now. It's a new policy. They're potentially generating $1.5 billion, billion with a B, in revenue, but they're also risking $1.8 billion in market share. Okay. And so, you know, the airline is really under a lot of pressure. Southwest Airlines is right now to improve their profitability. And they're going to have to work really, really hard to save their customer base and also attract new customers. They're just going to have to. If you didn't see their social media this week, go take a peek at Southwest Airlines Instagram right now. Customers are livid, you guys. They are just livid, saying things like, this is how you destroy a brand, and customer loyalty just went out the window. This was a huge mistake. You just lost another customer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And so I think it's super dangerous that Southwest Airlines changed so many things all at once. And I think that they're also like right now, it's just a lot of confusion because I see a lot of people like asking, okay, is it $35? Is it $35 just for one bag, but not others? Like, and I'm going to give you kind of what I understand it to be. I understand. Here's what my understanding is. My understanding is they're going to continue to reward their highest paying customers, who get the business select seats. Okay. So they still get their bags for free. So if you're a business select member, which I am, and you'll get those for free. And if you're an A-list preferred, you'll get one bag for free. Also, if you're a Rapid Rewards credit card holder, which I am, you'll get one bag for free. But yet those details are cloudy. Okay. So I'm just saying there's some confusion. And then the other thing that I think is confusing is they're saying it's for all airline travel booked with them after May 28th. Now, some girlfriends and I were discussing this in real life because we're taking a girls trip this summer to Bougie on the Beach, our condo down in Florida. But they were like, wait, this starts like bags will start being charged after May 28th, or is it any flights that you sit down to book them after the calendar date of May 28th, then this applies. And so there's just some confusion, okay? And anytime things are confusing, there's going to be, some fallout because of that. And I personally think that Southwest is about to have a lot of issues. And I think like even just from a very like tactical point, because if people are going to be charged to now bring their luggage to the airport, then they're probably going to start to do more carry-ons, right? And so if people are going to bring more carry-ons, then probably that overhead bin space is going to run out of room, right? And so how many of you have been on a flight before where they're like, we need some people to check their bags, right when you're getting ready to board, they're asking people to check their bags. Then that gets confusing, right? So people are rolling their bag up to the front, and Southwest is probably going to have to give some credits or give you some points or give you some dollars. But then when that happens, when people are checking, they originally were going to carry on a bag, but now they're going to check a bag, then that tends to take time. And now you have departure delays. So I do think that they are going to run into some issues. I also think the timing of this was terrible. And I'm going to tell you from a PR perspective, I think they have a lot of work to do because right now, people in the United States, we are nervous. I'll go ahead and just throw myself in there. And I shouldn't even say that. Okay, let me not speak that over myself. A lot of people are more uneasy with flying around right now in the United States than what they have been in a long, long time. In fact, there was a report run by the Points guy, and his statistics came back and said that 65% of the people that were surveyed said that they are more nervous about flying right now because of all the recent safety incidents. I'm going to use my my air quotes here. Essentially, when you have planes catching on fire, whether it's Southwest or not, when you have planes have emergency landings, when you have planes that are crashing, is this the time as an airline to come out and say, and you know what? We're going to now start charging you for a whole lot of things. And then people start, consumers are so much smarter than they used to be. It doesn't take a whole lot for people to start figuring out, okay, there could be more issues with things getting out of the gate on time. And if the planes are late in leaving, is that going to mean that they're careless in their reviews of safety? Like this is how vain imaginations start and people just start to even wonder. So I'm really worried for Southwest for a few reasons. And what I want to talk about is really like how we can apply what's happening to Southwest Airlines to our own business right now. Because if you have some changes that you need to make, if you need to be making some more revenue, if you need to make some announcements, I want you to learn from what I've personally seen with Southwest Airlines in the last week so that you can do it maybe a little bit differently. Okay. So, number one, let's talk about just the power of having like your unique selling proposition, the one thing that you're known for. I think Southwest missed the mark here because they're known for two things: bags fly for free, you pick your seat. They're changing both of those things. They're changing both of those things. So now they're no different than any other airline. And oh, by the way, they don't have some of the really nice things that like Delta does. Every time I say Delta, I want to sing Delta Dawn. What's that flower you have? Does anybody else remember that? Anybody else? A girl that grew up in the 70s or 80s with her parents playing Delta Dawn? But so those are the two things that set Southwest apart. Delta has chargers, Delta has televisions. Like Southwest doesn't have that. So if you don't have those things, like, and you're no longer different than all the other airlines, what advantage is there to someone picking Southwest over, let's say, Delta, American, what have you? Like, I don't know that there is. By removing the couple of things that set you apart, now you just blend in with every other airline. And so, like, as a business owner, what's something that really makes you stick out from all of your competition? Okay, let me use my own business coaching as an example. I am a business coach that we frequently have prayer calls. I call them the war room. These are something that I think makes me stand out from a lot of other coaches. I pray over my clients. I prophesy over my clients. I have tons of clients that don't share my Christian faith, and that's okay. But this is what sets me apart from a lot of other women in the business coaching realm. And so, am I using, prayer calls and, religion, if you will, to manipulate people to try to get them to sign up, with my coaching? Like, no, but this is a part of who I am. My prayer time, praying over business owners, prophesying over them, using scripture in all of my business teachings. Like that is just organically, very naturally. This is what sets me apart. And so, even if people were like, we don't like the prayer time, Jen, we don't want that. Well, sorry, I'm going to continue to give that as an option. This is A, who I am, and B, what sets me apart. And so I want you to look at your own business, like what sets you apart. And if you don't have anything that sets yourself apart from your industry, you probably should. And if you're like, Jen, how do I get into business coaching with you? I mean, we have Equip 360 software. You can go to equipped360.com. And even if you don't use my software, you can still buy the business coaching there and just not use the software if you want. But that's the only way you can continue to coach with me is by joining that group. And that's where you will get the prayer time. And so I want you just to be thinking as business owners, like, what is it that sets me apart? If you don't have something, you better get something. Okay. Number two thing I want to discuss. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to Southwest in terms of profitability. Okay. Because did they go all in for some short-term profit, since they're going to start charging for bags? And is that a short-term profit when really they probably should have been concerned about long-term customer loyalty? I don't know. Time's going to tell, right? So in the last week, their stock has gone up, I think around 8%. Jason is the one in our house who has a constant pulse on the stock market. He's the one that does all of our investing. And so he's been watching things. And so I know that it's gone up some because we've already talked about that. So what that says to me is that Southwest stockholders, they were very excited about the announcement. But are Southwest customers bailing going to be enough to sustain that or to make it worth it? I mean, what happens if their most loyal paying customers bail because it's no longer, super advantageous for them to book with Southwest? There's nothing different with them and anybody else, right? I don't know. Will the short-term win hurt Southwest in the long run? And I think only time's going to tell, right? I do think, that Southwest may have been thinking, hey, we're going to make these changes. Let's make everything all at once, but they could have done some things better and different. I'm going to talk about that next, but time will definitely tell because as business owners, it can be super dangerous to just be chasing really quick cash. And we have to be able to think about like longevity, sustainability, scalability, customer trust over the long run, et cetera. So, examples of that, if you're wanting to apply this to my business, to your business, et cetera. Anytime you overload people with sales emails, that can be a way that you really turn people off. And yes, you might make a little bit of quick cash, but you also may get a lot of unsubscribes. You also may have people who, they're no longer opening your emails because you're just inundating them with sales after sales after sales email. And so there has to be you mixing in some value for them. There has to be you mixing in some gives. Like that would be one example. If you're constantly changing offers just because you need to make some quick cash, that can be dangerous as well for long-term things with you. If you are seriously raising your rates without grandfathering people in, this could be a way that you're really breaking trust with some of your clients. And so I just want you to think about anytime you're aiming for short-term cash, you might be foregoing like some customer loyalty, which is a long-term thing. So you might have some, damage control that you have to do. I don't know. So it is always, always, always better to take care of your current clients. And it's always easier, I think, to take care of your current clients. It's also cheaper to take care of your current clients than try to get new clients. Did you know that? It always is. Because now if you're going to try to get new customers, if Southwest is going to try to get a new, market share, then they're going to have to try to figure out how to do that. Do they do that through ads? Do they have to do that through sales? Are they going to have a lot more marketing campaigns? You and I can do things online where we're not spending millions of dollars on advertisements, but when you have a company like Southwest, it's going to cost them to really do a lot more marketing. And so keep your customers happy. Uh, I think that in the long run, that will be more profitable than constantly chasing new people. So make sure, we do things like we give discounts. If you are in my Equipped Inner Circle, we give you discounts on things. We give you grandfathered in content that a lot of the new people don't get. Do you personalize emails just for a specific group? Do you call them by a specific name so that they feel like they're, your high tier clients? Do you give them discounts on occasion? Like you have to take care of your current clients, even when you're doing new things. You just have to. Okay. Third thing that I want to talk about when it comes to all of Southwest's announcements, and this one was the one that just baffled me, guys. Like everything as a business owner that you and I do, or that Southwest Airlines does, is like it's all about positioning. It's all in the way you present it to people, and it's all about timing. Okay. And so you have to nail both things. And this is why we pay a lot of good money to PR people sometimes. Okay. This is why a company like Southwest Airlines, they have their PR team has PR teams. Okay. So they've got people upon people that should have at the very least done a way better job of this. The way that they announced things, I think was just absolutely terrible. It was so like baffling to me. Go look at Southwest Instagram. Okay. So if you're watching me right now on YouTube, you're seeing me literally, I'm going to pull up Southwest Airlines. So let's see. It was 5 days ago. What's the date today? Today is, hang on just a second. So this would have been today's 18th. So about the 13th. Okay. Look at about March 13th when they made the announcement, and you'll be able to tell which post I'm talking about because it's the one that's blue. I'm showing it to you here on YouTube that says it's not like we traded Luca. Okay. So I had to have somebody explain that to me, my husband. Luca is an NBA player in Dallas. Dallas is where Southwest Airlines, by the way, is, that's where they're located out of. And so they're basically saying, we've made upgrades or updates to our bag policy, and you're still going to love flying with us, but it's not like we traded Luca. And so you guys, there are so many comments. They turned off, not the commenting, but they turned off. You can't see how many comments there are. By the way, that is an option for you to do on your own Instagram business account. But I can tell you this, 75,000 people shared that post. 29,000 hearted it. Southwest Airlines has well over 1 million followers. You guys go look at those comments. People are pissed with a capital P. And people are saying, why would anybody love this? You're absolutely tone deaf. Meaning like, if everybody in Dallas is already upset about the whole trading Luca thing, why would you think that that's funny to position it that way? Like their PR team, took a big L on this post, guys. Okay, disappointed for sure. Rude social media manager. Somebody needs to fire their social media team. I mean, it's wild to me that is there no checks and balances? Was there nobody going, hey, let me see that post before you put it up? Because it wasn't good. It didn't position these changes well at all for Southwest. It essentially was, you know, somebody likened it to like giving their clients, giving their customers like the middle finger. We're changing things. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, it's just I'm like, what on earth? They didn't position that well at all. Anytime you are going to make changes as a business, here's what I want you as a small business owner and me to remember, okay? You have to position it in a way that you are showing your clients and your customers why there's still something in it for them, how this could actually help them in some way. Okay. So Southwest could have done a bunch of different things. They could have said, hey, yes, we know we're going to be charging you for bags, but if we ever lose your bags, automatically you're getting a full refund of your flight. Or they could have said, yes, we're going to be charging for bags, but we're decreasing the cost of all of our flights by 10% to make up for it. Or, there could have been something in it for the customers, but they didn't. Hey, your bags are now, we're going to charge you, but we also just put in, all the chargers and all the televisions like the other airlines have. They didn't do anything. So essentially now here's what Southwest Airlines customers are feeling like. Okay, you announced it to us in a jerky fashion. You're not showing us at all why this is good for us in the least. The only thing that they said is this on that post, our Southwest hospitality, it hasn't changed. Our Southwest hospitality that we, know you all know and love. They even worded that weird. I just stumbled on the words because they worded that weird. Southwest, what are you doing? And so it's also not super clear on all the changes. And so, yes, in their defense, Southwest may have thought to themselves, let's just announce this all at once and just rip off the band-aid, right? But if I was running Southwest, fire all your PR people right now. So that is not none of that just got announced is going to fly. And you are going to have to work overtime, in my opinion, as a company to really like dazzle and delight your clients. You are going to still have to continue to double down on being the fun airline, the one that sings, the one that's giving champagne to the newlyweds, the one that's giving, treats to the dogs. Like you're going to have to double down on that. You're going to have to double down on things like the pilots coming out, talking to the people that are flying. It's only been on Southwest Airlines that I've seen things like that happen. You're going to have to do some damage control. And for the love of all things holy, will you get rid of those stupid bags of onion pretzels that smell like feet and just do the cinnamon bears all the time now? I mean, this is what I think Southwest needs to do. Fire your PR people, get rid of the feet smelling snacks, double down on better customer service, on new social media management, and handle this differently. Because I think that they just broke or tried to fix a whole lot of things that were broke. And I know what they're trying to do is to generate more revenue. And all businesses have to make money or you can't stay in business very long, right? I think it would have been better for them to just slightly up their prices without an announcement. The majority of people are not going to notice if there's a 3% increase in the cost of airfare. But you tell people they're going to have to start paying $35 a bag, they're going to notice that. So as a business owner, I hope you're paying attention to how Southwest just really missed the mark on a lot of things. I think the timing was bad since, as a whole, we're just a little more nervous to fly. I think they didn't position it well with their announcements. They should have positioned it in a much better fashion. I think they took away the things that made people, want to book with them. And I think they really offended a lot of their most loyal customers. And I hope that that was worth it for their short-term profits. So that's kind of where I land on the Southwest announcements. But I want to know where you land. I want to know what you think because, they have been, and I'm guessing they'll continue to be still my favorite airline. But I am concerned about what they just did to their loyal customer base. So I would like for you to let me know if you're watching here on YouTube. Give me your thoughts in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts at, do me a favor and just share this with someone that is a business owner, or share this podcast with somebody that loves to fly. And I'd love to have you share this on social media because I would love your feedback there as well. So it'll be interesting. Time will definitely tell. All right, friends. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you so much. And if you've not already subscribed to the podcast, please make sure that you do that. And as always, go leave me a review if you could. Bless you. Talk soon. Bye bye. Easton, how do you feel about Southwest Airlines right now? What you thinking? What you thinking about what they did?